scandal with no name took an accelerating turn this week as the New York Times uncoiled 3 stunning stories about a June 9, 2016, meeting in Trump Tower where Donald Trump's president's skin and campaign brain trust conferred with a Russian emissary and her entourage. The naming convention for political scandals insists that we incorporate a place name into it: Watergate, Teapot Dome, Whitewater, Chappaquiddick, My Lai, Abu Ghraib, Iran Contra, et.al. In observance of this rule, the disquieting meeting in which a Russian offered dirt on Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and then campaign director Paul Manafort in the Manhattan skyscraper suggests Trump Kowtower as the carnival's best appellation. Starting this week, President Donald Trump and crew can no longer complain that there is no there to the scandal, or that it's a media hoax, or that it's a witch hunt, or that Hillary Clinton did far worse, or that the Democratic Party is using it as an excuse to discredit the president's November victory. Now and forever, with no ambiguity, baby Donald owns all 58 floors of the scandal, every penthouse, elevator, closet, and garbage chute. Just as the Watergate scandal didn't start at the Watergate complex, Nixon's plumbers burgled the office of Daniel Ellsberg, psychiatrist, almost a year before their most memorable caper. Trump Kowtower didn't start on the 25th floor of 725 Fifth Avenue. Trump had been toiling Indiana, the Russian field, for decades for an opportunity like this, smothering Vladimir Putin with flattery while looking for hand and toe holds and a route to its summits of power and money. American pundits might have thought the Trump candidacy would be a sham, but Russian officials were chatting about a Trump candidacy as early as 2015, CBS News reports, citing intelligence intercepts. Trump and his associates have ingratiated themselves with both the Russian government and its oligarchs in a non-stop fashion. This meeting looks like a payoff for those efforts. The email chain Jr. tweeted this week that scheduled the Trump Kowtower meeting fuses Jr., Kushner, and Manafort firmly to the Russian bosom that Trump has coveted. No matter what additional spume of lies the Trump team pours into the news cycle, no matter how they and the president mock the idea of Russian interference in the election, a nothing burger, Reince Priebus called it, the investigation has trundled to a place beyond the president's power to redirect. All the arm-waving, shouting, and tweeting in the world can't erase the fact that Trump's fish bit hard on the traitorous bait offered by music publicist Rob Goldstone in his introductory emails. This is obviously very high-level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump. And yet the president attempts that exact erasure, approving one of the most poisonous mendacities of this week. As the New York Times reported, he signed off on Jr.'s original and disingenuous statement that sought to downplay the meeting to an innocent discussion about Russian adoption. Trump then had the moxie to praise his son's meeting obfuscations as transparency. At a presser with French President Emmanuel Macron, Trump said that accepting such information was very standard. If Jr. figures as the Russian patsy in this operation, too much of a campaign rookie to know what he was getting into, then what does that make Jared Kushner? It's true, Mark. Nobody has worked longer or closer with Trump in the 2 years since he announced his candidacy. By virtue of his marriage to Trump's favorite child, Kushner is almost as much family as Jr. Maybe more. As father to the presidential grandchildren, Kushner's bond to Trump grows tighter. Like his father-in-law, he speaks fluent real estates. Like a good son, he happily takes the subordinate position. If the Russians sought to tilt the election in Trump's favor, they couldn't have sculpted a better CO conspirator from clay than Kushner. Kushner's troubles deepen by the moment, and he knows it. In a selfing gesture this week, he advocated for a stronger defense of Jr. inside the White House, writes Politico's Tara Palmieri. Kushner has systematically deceived authorities about the extent of his contacts with foreigners by filing spotty SF-86 forms for his security clearance. First, Kushner neglected to mention the Trump Kowtower meeting, then avoided listing his "Can I get a back channel to Russia" talk with the Russian ambassador, and finally skipped recording his dealings with Sergei Gorkov, a Vladimir Putin ally and chairman of a Russian state bank. Kushner's preternatural coziness with Russians and his furtiveness about encounters with them cloaks him in the Russian tricolor, not the stars and stripes, and poses the question of who he thinks he's serving. Schaeffer's law of political scandals dictates that the greater number of participants in a scandal, the greater the likelihood that the thing will crumple under its own weight and collapse on its creators. The week brought several new characters into the Trump Kowtower saga, perhaps enough to test its load-bearing walls as journalists and government investigators fully examine their backgrounds and connections to Russia. The shadiest character in the president's Russian orbit, emigre and one-time jailbird Felix Sater, worked with Trump on the idea of building Trump Towers all over the world. Where will the queries about Natalia Veselitsky lead? She's the Russian government attorney who came to the Trump Tower meeting fanning a plastic folder containing printouts of what she said documented the flow of illegal money to the Democrats. Then there's former Russian military intelligence officer and current lobbyist Rinat Akhmetshin, who accompanied Veselitskaya to the meeting, and who has waxed loquaciously about it. He recalls Veselitskaya telling Jr., Kushner, and Manafort, this could be a good issue to expose how the DNC is accepting bad money. And don't forget the instigator of the meeting, Emine Ghraib, and his father, Putin-aligned Russian oligarch Arasy Ghraib, with whom the Trump family has partnered and grown intimate over recent years. Ghraib Sr. makes a cameo in the Steele dossier, the opposition research document that gave the Trump Kowtower scandal its first bump back in January when it was published in BuzzFeed. Just added to the cast is Russian translator Anatoly Samakernov, who attended the meeting in the tower and had previously worked with Veselitskaya. Manafort is Russia-ed up, too, having taken millions representing the country's interests in the United States and Ukraine. Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn practically bleeds borscht. And the president? He all but ate out of Putin's hand last week at the G20 meeting. Trump has long sought to build a Moscow tower. Turns out that while nobody was looking, the Russians built their own here.